What's up, guys? Welcome back, my friends. My name is Rod. Welcome to the Man Cave. I'm doing a contest entry today for the Canadian Stud Muffin. The Canadian Stud Muffin, we all know who that guy is. He's got like 50,000 subscribers. He's having a contest. He wants us to make 5 double albums that we think could be a double album by the same artist around that same time where they released, a couple albums back to back. And they sound very similar, and it very easily could have made one double. AC/DC, anything after Bon Scott, they all sounded the same. So that could be a no-brainer putting it together. But guys like David Bowie, and I didn't pull my examples because it's too much to put away. Like Bowie, he did Scary Monsters, then 2 years later did the Let's Dance album, completely different. But some bands, some of their stuff is very, very similar, and you could take 2 albums and make a double. And I'm going to show 5. I'm going to start off with the greatest jam band ever, the greatest country rock band, greatest American band ever, ever, ever. Talk about the Grateful Dead. These came out, I think, actually like 11 months apart. Working Man's Dead and American Beauty. Very, very acoustic, almost a country vibe to them. And you could take a song off of either album and easily mix it with the other. And he wants us to do the sides, but we can't rearrange the songs. So for me, I'd do 1 and 2 for 1 and 2, then have 3 and 4. The first and the second one from this one being 3 and 4. Working Man's Dead and American Beauty, easily one album. This next one I'm showing is Shaver. Billy Joe Shaver and his son Eddie Shaver, when they played together, they called themselves Shaver. Unfortunately, both have passed. This was a kick-ass album. This was outlaw country. This was a hard rockin' version of Americana. Those guys were badasses. I had the pleasure of meeting both of them. The father, I've got to interview a few times, well, twice. This album came out first, Tramp on Your Street. And this one came out a couple years later, Highway of Life. Singing about life, bro. Singing about things that happen in the world. Fantastic stuff. If you're not familiar with Billy Joe Shaver, he goes way back to the early days of Jerry Jeff Walker and, the original outlaw country. A phenomenal singer-songwriter on his own, Billy Joe Shaver. Together, him and Eddie made Shaver. Dig it. It's cool. Johnny Winter, my favorite guitar player. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm saying he's my favorite guitar player. I loved Johnny Winter. He made a trio of albums back in the 80s. I know he said a double, but I'm making a triple. My Canadian friend, the Canadian Stud Muffin, I hope you understand. This is a triple album. Third Degree, Guitar Slinger, Master Mechanic, all within like a 4 or 5 year period. All of them on Alligator Records. Very, very bluesy. It's the blues. It's not very bluesy. It is the blues. This could have easily been a triple album. And he broke so far away from the blues, he actually lost his contract, or he chose to step away from Alligator Records because he wanted to make a rock and roll album back in 1988. Alligator said, look, we're not going to support a rock and roll album. So he left and he made the Winter of 88. Rock and roll, completely different. But these 3 from Alligator could have been a triple album. And I talked to one of the guys from Alligator Records back in the late 90s when Johnny was still alive, and they still had not given up hope that Johnny was going to come back to that label, at least for one album. Unfortunately, that never happened. God rest your soul, Johnny. And Billy Joe Shaver and Eddie Shaver are gone. This next one kind of pissed me off. This is Jeff Tweedy. This is Warmer, and this is Warm. He came out with Warm. Really good album. Oh my gosh. And this was released at first just as a record store day album. And I had to get it. We heard it was outtakes from Warm. It was all from the same recording session. It was supposed to be a double album. For whatever reason, they chose to do Warm, then a couple months later release Warmer. And the reason it pissed me off, I put back Albert King. I had it in my hand. I put back Albert King to get this. About 2 weeks after Record Store Day, they released it as an album. And then about a year ago, they released it as a double album. So Warm and Warmer released separately. One album. Last but not least, I'm going Dead Again. It's my video. I can go dead again. If I get DQ'd, I get DQ'd. He didn't say we couldn't repeat bands. I'm going the Grateful Dead. I showed their first two albums, very country, very mellow, just, oh God, just great stuff. The last two, they decided to make some rock and roll albums. In the Dark and Built to Last. And no, I'm not looking for the names. I'm just trying to refresh my brain. Both of these albums kicked ass. Both of these albums got them radio play again after years of not having it. You know, the radio's not going to play an 18-minute jam of, you know, Turn On Your Love Light. But this stuff brought them back into popularity. These two albums are so very similar. This could have been a double album. This video is for the Canadian Stud Muffin. He's got a great channel. If you're watching this channel, you know his channel. It's just how it is. This contest, I don't know. He's running it for a month or so. Get together some albums. Make 5 double albums. Have some fun with it, guys. And this is a cool thing to do. Made me think. You know, what would have been good? Like I said, AC/DC, anything. Bob Dylan, some of his stuff maybe. But I'd love to see other people's response to this. Canadian Stud Muffin, thanks for hosting this contest.